Hello, stroke warriors everywhere. This is Ralph Cortese again with um, stroke book contributors. Today's our guest is Kim O'Kelly Lee, who wrote the book Silent Magic and Other Remedies, a journey of transformation, a spiritual journey. Thanks for being with us, Kim. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Ralph. How are you?
I'm, I'm doing very well, thank you. Very
Excellent.
anxious to get started reading your book, so well, let's get right to it. How's that sound?
Okay. First, I would like to say that I wrote this in 2009 and I had my stroke in 2014. So I think
Okay.
that's a important thing. And really what I want to do with reading this is talking about where I see what I wrote in this book, how it can be used for stroke warriors.
And the reason you wrote the book?
I wrote it. It was to give back to the community of people that were struggling with drugs and alcohol because
Oh, nice.
I'm clean and sober. And I guess I was over 20 years. I wrote it in 2009. I got clean and sober in 1983. And I just felt moved to write this book and give back to those that had been there for me.
Well, having read it, it's a wonderful book. I'm excited to get started.
Thanks, Ralph. Okay, here we go. To the reader, the format of this book is unorthodox. It wasn't written in a linear fashion, nor does it have any chapters. It is comprised of probing questions, spiritual insights, practical knowledge, different fonts, and even a page upside down. But this is deliberate. It is a book designed to inspire through stories, life lessons, and moments. It is about our ability to be conscious in each of these moments and to recognize that we have the power to change and live our greatest life. This book asks you to examine your relationship with God, yourself, and with others, but it's not about religion or dogma. It is much more about cultivating your own spirituality. Silent magic, M.A.G.I.C. gives specific tools to improve the quality of your life. And it does this in a way that anyone can understand. This book can be referred to time and time again, like a handbook, reminding us of who we truly are and what we are capable and of what we are capable. Silent Magic and Other Remedies is for everyone looking to attain true freedom, lasting happiness, and inner peace. This book is from one human being to another as we navigate through this maze we call life.
Wonderful introduction. I like that.
How you view your life. The way we view life makes all the difference in the playing out of our life. We have little or no control over our outer environment, but we do have control over our inner environment, our frame of mind, and our perception of the world in which we live. Well, if you're a stroke survivor listening to this, you certainly know you have no control over your outer environment. This came out of nowhere
Exactly.
for me. I'm pretty sure for you too,
Absolutely.
right? When you wake up in the morning, do you find yourself thinking about what you can't have and what you can't do? Do you drag your feet throughout the day, going from one drama to another? Is your attention on all the reasons you can't accomplish your goals and dreams? Do you feel wronged by others and make them wrong as well? Do you complain about everyone and everything around you? Do you hear yourself saying things like, if they could just understand what I'm going through, if they could just do what I say and see what I see, everything would be fine? Do you feel alone and discontented? Are you angry, resentful, or depressed? Do you feel powerless with little hope of ever feeling good again? There is hope.
Chapter right there. I mean, all those feelings were my initial stroke recovery days. You
Yeah.
know, it was
Yeah, because
written
you had a
for,
great loss. Yeah,
yeah,
we have great loss. Yes. And I lost myself in drugs and alcohol. So as I said, I this is like a precursor. It's crazy how the similarities are. So now I've
yes,
just turned the book upside down. How you view your life. When you wake up in the morning, do you look forward to each and every moment of the day? Do you sit in silence and tune into an infinite source of joy, peace, unconditional love, and wisdom that inspires you and connects you to everyone and everything? Are you a co creator with that infinite source and therefore take responsibility for your part in each moment of your life? Are you excited to see how the day will unfold, what lessons your life is showing you? Are you grateful for all the moments of your day and all the moments you get to express love to your family, friends, and to yourself? Is your attention on all the reasons you can accomplish your goals and dreams and be who you choose to be in each moment? Do you know that every circumstance is loving you and teaching you something about you so that you can choose to express the greatest you that you are? Do you see opportunities in the face of obstacles? Do you have boundless energy and feel empowered in each moment? Are you living in the abundance of your life? Just the way I had to turn this book upside down to read that last page. It takes that kind of conscious action, conscious choice to see life from a different perspective. It takes an act of will and a shift in our thinking. When we view our life through eyes that are waiting for the other shoe to drop, a fear based frame of mind, we are more easily subject to doubts, angers, frustrations, resentments, impossibilities, and lack. Thoughts of I can't, it's too hard, I'm stuck, I'm afraid, I'm alone consume us. Our attention is on all the things that are wrong in our lives. We are uptight, stressed out, depressed, and overwhelmed. Our state of mind is negative and shut down, and we are unable to see the lessons our life is showing us. This is a victim state of consciousness, and it drains us of our energy. And I will say that this comes, like you said, very naturally after something slams you in life,
yeah.
right?
I mean, and it's, it's like we talk about often, the last sentence you read, this is a victim state of consciousness.
Yep.
Yeah, with a stroke, you'd make a choice to be a stroke survivor or a stroke warrior.
Yes, indeed.
You have to get out of that victim mentality.
That's it. And I wrote this book. It was 15 years before I had my stroke. And what came to me in meditation after I had my stroke was I was going to take the journey with joy. I had been living this, turning my life over, choosing joy, meditating. I'd been meditating for like 30 some odd, 31 years. A long time on a daily basis. I had been really trying to change my life, living my spiritual path and turning everything over. And when I went back to look at this book, I said, oh my gosh,
I
this
know,
is right.
I know. It just, when I first read it, it was like, wow. She
Yeah.
didn't write this for the reason she started. She wrote it for her stroke and our stroke.
Oh, thank you. Well, I do think it's universal that we all have,
Yes,
and we all have these opposites. And it is learning about having choice, right?
yes,
Making a choice.
absolutely.
So then when we view our life through eyes that see possibilities and opportunities in each moment to grow spiritually, a faith and trust based frame of mind, we are willing and open, joyous and content. We are able to see the beauty and love in ourselves and in all others. We are able to look at whatever needs to be changed in ourselves and in all others. I lost my place. We are able to look at whatever needs to be changed in ourselves with a loving microscope, and we make those changes with enthusiasm and gratitude. And as we change, we affect change in people around us and in our circumstances. We are awake and ready for whatever twists and turns might be along the way. We have a calm and stillness within, yet we have infinite energy. We are able to comprehend what life is showing and teaching us, and we are getting the lessons. The question to ask yourself is, how can I change my fear-based frame of mind to a faith-based frame of mind? A faith and trust-based frame of mind, building a daily relationship with an infinite source of vibration, energy, and intelligence made up of joy, peace, unconditional love, and intuitional wisdom is one of the tools you can use to transform the way you view your life. The next question is, how do I do that? And what are these other tools? Well, this is what will be addressed in this book and so much more. Silent Magic and Other Remedies invites you on a journey of self-love, self-discovery, and conscious choices. This is a transformative journey, a spiritual journey to uncover and express who you truly are. I want to say did you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
I just want to say, after I had my stroke, so I lost my left side, and I'd get up in the morning and I'd wake up, and as soon as I put my foot down on the ground, there it was, right? There is the problem. There was the problem. And because I had worked so much on turning my life over into the solution, I would recognize it. And then I'd say, okay, so what can I do today? What effort can I make?
Right. And it's those small victories that you need to go through every day.
And with stroke, you've got to work on your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, and your mental state, right? Because that's who we are. We are not just one thing. So
exactly.
And that's what this book is about, really working on all those things. Okay. Shall I go on?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. What happened to me? We all experience some degree of pain in our lives, whether we bring it on ourselves or it comes from an outside source. One thing is for sure, pain can be a great motivator. A choice born out of pain is where my spiritual journey and transformation began. I was at death's door. Drugs and alcohol had taken over my life. My actions, my thoughts, my every waking moment had everything to do with getting high, and only that. I was run by my addictions. I was consumed with fear, self-pity, desperation, anger, and resentment. The guilt, the shame, and the remorse all came later. I was in so much mental agony, so much pain. For the last year, I had been going in and out of cocaine and Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. This is 1983 now. I would put together a few months here and there, but I wasn't able to stay clean and sober for any length of time. I knew I wouldn't make it if I didn't get into a hospital. I found one with a 2-week detox and a 30-day drug program. I had to call for 2 weeks every morning at 7:30 a.m. to reserve a bed space. This was the hospital's way of making sure you were serious. How I managed to do this while I was still using drugs was a miracle in itself, but I did it. I called every morning at 7:30 a.m., whether I was up all night, stoned out of my brains or not. I got in just in time. I was 88 pounds of skin and bones, so sick, so tired, and so afraid. I was hanging on by a thread. The only reason I could come up with for living was to watch my niece grow up. I had no desire left for my own self. Her birth was my saving grace. She was my angel. The nightmares those first nights were so intense and so real, as if there was no separation between waking and sleeping. Well, I had been living a nightmare, that was for sure. I had created my own living hell. I was amongst the living dead. If there was a devil, I had met, slept, and eaten with him. My view of life had become so dark and negative. There was very little of the me I remembered before the drugs and alcohol. I couldn't even look in the mirror. And when I did, I hated that girl. I lay in the hospital bed so sick to my stomach, what I had done to myself, my life, and my family. How did I get so lost? I had come from a wonderful family and had always felt so loved and cared for by them. So much love. But look at me now. The shame, the guilt, the remorse was all kicking in. I was in Ranchos Los Amigos Hospital for 6 weeks. That was in 1983. A couple of things happened to me while I was there. I realized I didn't want to continue living the way I'd been living. And I realized I would die if I didn't change. This was my chance, and I was determined to take it. I heard a woman speak on a panel in the hospital one night about freedom, and I wanted that. I was tired of being bound by my own chains. I can still remember the hope rekindling within me while she was speaking. I knew she was speaking the truth. I was going to make it this time. I wanted sobriety. I wanted to be clean. I wanted to be free, and I wanted to live. I continued to go to AA meetings after I left the hospital and became very active in the program. I got a sponsor, cleaned up at meetings, shared, and eventually spoke at meetings. My sponsor took me through the 12 steps. I did an inventory and made amends. At 6 months of sobriety, I began to sponsor. Then I, too, was going out to hospitals and institutions to speak and bring hope where there was very little. Once again, I was experiencing gratitude for my life. The first several years were all about staying clean and sober one day at a time, going to meetings and helping others. I thought I was working the steps, but at 4.5 years sobriety, I found myself once again in a world of pain. This time, I was in a pain over a man. The drugs and alcohol were gone, but the girl who couldn't look in the mirror was still there. I was devastated by yet another broken relationship. I mean, how could I be anything else? I was living a huge lie, a self-created lie. I was living in the belief, the delusion that a man could bring me happiness. I was giving the man the career, the bank account, and anything outside of myself the responsibility for my happiness. And I was doomed. I was doomed to being happy, not happy, happy, not happy, happy, not happy, over and over again. It took the pain of another breakup to open my eyes. True happiness, lasting happiness, was an inside job. The happiness I was experiencing was only temporary. What I really wanted was a lasting happiness that had nothing to do with anything outside of myself. I wanted joy too. Remember joy?
Three things popped up through that chapter. And being an unorthodox writing, it's not really a chapter, but three things popped up. Pain doesn't necessarily mean physical pain. It can be physical, but the mental anguish and pain that we go through is so hard.
Yes.
That is something that nobody told me about. It was scary for a long time, real long time.
Yeah, and I think we have, Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's shame and guilt and remorse when you have a stroke. This can happen to people. That shame, like you did something. You did something to your family.
Or you didn't do something to cause this.
Exactly. Yes.
It's the emotional roller coaster you go through is so odd.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many weird things like, well, I'm angry at myself because I could have taken better care of myself, whatever.
Yeah.
Those kind of things that you usually don't get too angry about.
Right. No, we shoot ourselves to death.
Oh, yeah. I love that phrase, by the way. The other one was um, throughout what you were talking about, throughout the adversity, um, you also turn those adversities into decisions.
Yes.
Those adversities of pain, mental and physical, caused you to make decisions, and that brought your independence.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's all conscious choices. I know that now. It is really being present and making choices, right?
Yeah, you have to
Which I
get through.
couldn't do because when you're an addict, you can't make choices
Right.
because the drug is making or the alcohol is making the choice for you. And when you feel so lonely and you're so empty and you need to be with somebody, that's making the choice for you. You're not making a decision to really choose to be in a loving relationship because you're not really loving yourself. And I get
Right.
into all of this, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. That's the good part, that you actually break it all down throughout the rest. So, all right, next
So
one.
getting off the roller coaster, that is the next moment that I'm talking about. Once I understood what I was doing, choosing temporary happiness, I could do something about it. I had to take responsibility for my own happiness. I had been living on an emotional roller coaster and I wanted off. I had been completely motivated by outside circumstances. How was I going to become inwardly motivated? How was I going to achieve this inward happiness that had nothing to do with the people in or not in my life, the job I may or may not have? How was I to find this lasting happiness that was unconditioned by my circumstances? I needed to go inside of myself. Meditation was part of the 11th step in AA. I thought I was working the steps, but I hadn't been meditating. I knew this was what I needed to do. I needed to learn to meditate. It was time. And the pain I was in was overwhelming. I went to a party one afternoon and was introduced to these two very interesting and spiritual men. I want to just say something. I was working on a show, Pump Boys and Dinettes, with Adrienne Barbeau. We were at this beautiful theater in Los Angeles, La Mirada Theater. And I was telling her that I realized I need to meditate. And she's the one that said, "Oh, well, I'm having a memorial." And it was during Memorial Day. It's coming up right now. And it was, and she goes, "I'm having a Memorial Day party. You're going to come because I know these two guys and you can talk to them." And this is how it began. So after talking with them for some time, I asked them about meditation. They said I needed a mantra, which was a spiritual thought I could repeat in my mind to bring my thoughts to just one thought. With their help, I chose, "I am the active expression of unconditional love at all times." I was to sit silently with my eyes closed and say that mantra for a few minutes, then for the remaining time, experience the stillness. At the end of the meditation, I would speak from my heart whatever was on my mind. I began with a realistic goal of 5 minutes a day, not being able to sit longer. I knew that meditating today didn't take care of myself tomorrow. So I meditated every day, no matter what. After a month, I went to 7 minutes a day. I had an egg timer. This is before cell phones. I had an egg timer set for the minutes to help me. I continued to increase my minutes until I was doing 20 minutes every morning. As the days, weeks, and months went by, I became thirsty for spiritual knowledge, devouring many a book. Be Here Now by Ram Dass, The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck, Living in the Light by Shakti Gawan, Way of this Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, The Greatest Miracle in the World by Og Mandino, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, and The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav, to name a few. The more spiritual knowledge I gathered, and as my time in meditation increased, I experimented with different techniques. I worked with observing my breath and with the 7 chakras and with different visualizations. I continued to expand my awareness, hone my understandings, deepen my gratitude, and cultivate my daily practice. I was being guided by my own meditation. The reasons I began to meditate started with what was I going to get and what meditation could do for me. I wanted to become inwardly motivated. I wanted to own my own happiness. I wanted to calm my restless mind. I wanted. I see now that my consciousness, my attention was focused on what I wanted and what I was going to get. This was true not only in meditation, but in every relationship I was in. All about me, I was just like a child, totally self centered. Yet I was 31 years old now, not 8. As I continued to meditate daily, the reasons that brought me to meditation began to change. As if by silent magic, I was being transformed. Meditation is the bridge that transforms the me consciousness to the we consciousness to the you consciousness. Early in my meditation process, I realized that I needed to look at and question the relationship I had with God. I had never really thought about it before. I had been raised Methodist, but what did that really mean? And what did that relationship have to do with me, with my relationship with God? And while I was digging and probing, what was God to me anyway? Was God a little old man up in heaven running my life, rewarding me when I was good and punishing me when I was bad? And what was heaven? And was God a person? No, that didn't feel right. What about love? God is love, not a selfish human love, but unconditional love. That felt more like it. And what about God as joy and wisdom and peace? And what if I expressed these qualities? Wasn't that expressing God in my life? If I began to cultivate a relationship in meditation with these qualities that I called God, wasn't that building a relationship with a God of my own understanding? Yes, it was. I also began to look more honestly at myself, though who I thought I was and the who I had become were two different people. I had always considered myself to be a positive and happy person. Maybe I was at one time or when I was a child, but that girl was nowhere in sight. She'd been buried under my life's experiences. I realized I didn't like myself. My actions had brought me there, and my thinking was not only negative about myself, but negative about the world and everyone else. I had heard somewhere, oh, I had heard someone say that if you wanted to change a tape, you had to re-record over it. My negative thoughts were just that, a tape playing over and over again. Unless I re-recorded over them, they were not going to change. I had gone to the Bodhi Tree, a metaphysical bookstore in Los Angeles, and had been drawn to 2 books. As a matter of fact, when I walked through the doors, I said a little prayer and I said, Lord, just show me, take me to what I need to see. I was drawn to 2 books. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay and Metaphysical Meditations by Paramahansa Yogananda. Among many amazing ideas, Hay introduced me to mirror work, which was saying positive affirmations into the mirror. At the end of each chapter, she had affirmations that always began with, in the infinity of life where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete. She continued on with positive thoughts of acceptance, trusting the universe, letting go of the past, and more. I read her words and felt they were true, but I didn't believe half of them. Nevertheless, after I meditated in the morning, I began to read her affirmations at the end of each chapter into the mirror. I also chose to read into the mirror several passages from Yogananda's book. His words were so profound. They brought tears to my eyes and they touched my soul. Here are a few examples. I am beholding through the eyes of all. I am working through all hands. I am walking through all feet. The brown, white, olive, yellow, red, and black bodies are all mine. I am the wind of wisdom that dries the sighs and sorrows of all humanity. I am the silent joy of life moving through all beings. Intuitively, I knew that saying these words into the mirror on a daily basis would change my life, not to mention my negative thinking. So each morning after I meditated, I showed up to the mirror for 20 to 30 minutes a day. I did this mirror work for 6 months. And by the end of that 6 months, my thinking and my view of life was changing. All the affirmations were becoming true to me. Little by little, the negative thoughts were being re-recorded over. I was changing my habitual tape and giving myself a positive brainwashing. And now I will say that after having a stroke, what this is neuroplasticity.
Yes,
When I wrote this,
absolutely.
science didn't have that word, neuroplasticity.
I
And
had
it's
that written in the margin, just where you were
right.
reading. Yep.
Isn't that so crazy? Because, neuroplasticity is specificity and repetition. And that's what I was doing. I was saying specific things into the mirror over and repetition over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
crazy.
one of the things that jumped out at me too is when you said the part about getting out of bed. Um, I think all of this, in order to get to this um, procedure in your life or thinking in your life, you first have to have gratitude that you got out of that bed this morning. A lot of us stroke survivors never, or stroke people never did. That's something that
That's right. Well,
always,
that's why gratitude is one of my tools.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's the basic tool, I think. You have to be grateful for your family. You have to be grateful for what you have, what you don't have is not an issue. It's what you have and what you believe you have. So,
I,
and
I
that
think
changed my recovery.
I agree. But some stroke survivors have trouble being grateful
Yeah,
for because they're still in that negative mindset. They still only see what's been taken from them. They haven't learned to see the solution, to instead of looking at the problem. They're still on that the crippledness instead of what I can give, what can I do, I've got my family. So yeah, I mean, that's why one of my tools in magic, the G is for gratitude. It is quite important. I totally agree.
yeah, it's amazing too. The other one that just jumped out at me is the mirror work that you were talking about. Yeah, I don't know if you've read anything about it, but there's a guy out in England, Dr. Kenneth Moynihan. I think he's in England, that's doing mirror work for therapy.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
I used to
so
give
it's,
workshops
pardon
sitting in
me?
front of I gave workshops sitting in front of mirrors, and the people that had the most trouble were the younger ones. They would see, and I write about this. I don't know if I write about specifically this workshop, but I do mention it. But the younger people would sit there looking at their my lines, and and it's like you've got to say these words so many times that you are looking past the physical. It is incredible therapy. I want to do it at David Sachs. I was saying, hey, if I get a good response, I will do an online workshop of all of these tools. I mean, it's we shall see, because it is incredible. It changes your life. If I'm not special, if it changed mine, it's going to change others. And we hear from others that it does. Okay, I better finish. Or you say. So we'll continue. Another very profound thing happened. I began to see a beauty inside of myself that surpassed all physical beauty. When I first started looking in the mirror, all I could see was my physical self, the lines, the blemishes, the age on my face. And with that came all negative thoughts having to do with my imperfections. I was seeing only the surface, the physical, and the personality me. As the days went by, continuing the affirmations, I began to see in my reflection the infinity of my soul, all beauty, all wisdom, all joy, and all light inside of me. I was experiencing a connection to all life, a we inside of me. And I knew it was for all of us willing to make the effort. I also began changing my actions and my habitual behavior. So many of my habits I had been built unconsciously. I never set out consciously to be a self centered person, a fearful, impatient, or judgmental person. So, with a loving, With the help of a loving microscope, I began to take one action, one thought at a time, and weave a new me. With the daily practice of meditation, affirmations, gratitude, inward motivation, and conscious choices, I was transforming my life one moment at a time. I was transforming my life. I think I just said that one moment at a time. The pain I experienced ended up being a springboard to an amazing spiritual journey. Being awake and conscious gives us the ability to dig ourselves, to hear and know our thoughts, and to see our actions and reactions. I think,
Lovely.
yes, lovely.
One of the things, what most of your chapters go into making an effort, making the choice to recognize. Well, for my recovery, it became better after I realized, that foot on the floor in the morning is the first thing to be grateful for. The fact that I don't have to walk on the cane anymore is grateful. That's a positive in my life, and that consciousness that you're talking about one moment at a time, until I started recognizing those moments as victories, I never got victories. So
Yeah,
I think
because you're
that
in
was
the
one of the
solution.
things that I got.
Ralph, you got out of the problem and you started being in the solution. Look at what I have, you know.
Yeah,
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 you got out of that victim consciousness. You stopped thinking about poor me, oh, what happened to me, you know. And that
yeah.
is,
And
go
like you
ahead.
said, all those affirmations, you began to see past the physical, and once you start doing that, recovery can become a lot better. I was going to say
Yes.
more better, but
Well,
yeah,
but it is effort, like you said. Everything in my that I talk about, I mean, it is our effort. What are we choosing to do? We get a chance to create the life that we want. That's a fact.
that's
And
so true.
are we, that's what free will is. But how many people really use their free will? Things happen. It's like something happens and then you get a little funky over here and then another circumstance and that fits and the relationship doesn't work or maybe your job and you start turning in on yourself and pretty soon if you don't like seriously get still and go, what's my solution here? And
Yeah,
sometimes we need a therapist. Sometimes we need it's through friends. Sometimes we need, God. I mean, I think we always need God, but I think we must, like, I found what worked for me. And it's funny when I read this because Paramahansa Yogananda became my guru. And that's a whole other story. I didn't even at that point, I didn't know. And all these things started coming into my life that were I was reading his autobiography of a yogi, but I didn't know I was using his metaphysical meditations to look in the. I didn't, for some reason, it wasn't all. And then I went to the Self Realization Fellowship, and oh my gosh, he's there, and it's the it was crazy. I was led, and I can't tell you why a white girl from that was a Methodist decided to take a yogic path. I don't know, but I it's like just like sobriety. I put my feet on it, and finally, when I said that's it, and I kept walking forward, when I took my feet onto my own spiritual path, and when I teach meditation and I talk with people, I feel like I'm a bridge. I am not to tell you what you are to find, but I am there to help you find something. I can help you, you know, like because with my coaching I help people find what will work for them, what religion or no religion, how do you know, is it nature, is it Indian? I work with so many different people and they're all different.
oh yeah, absolutely. But the thing that you're saying is, I think anyway for me was doing the effort brought me to you said led you to. the yogi, making the effort brought me to new opportunities to recover better. If you're going to be just be a survivor, you're never going to find the opportunities to be better. And you did that. You found that you were led to new opportunities.
I feel so talking about gratitude, grateful that, I mean, it's almost like the getting sober really was, it was never really for me. It was kind of weird because I was a very happy, very positive kid. I was in the music, I was an actress, I was a singer, I was out on the road. It just kind of went sideways and it took over my life. I never set out to be an addict. I don't think anybody does, but it's just the circumstances. And in a way, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because it opened my eyes to me and to get on a path of self-love so that I could truly be unconditionally loving in my life. It put me on a path of oneness with God. And I happened to find, I mean, I think all roads lead to me, right. It's not me, but, God, to whatever you want to call that. They're all perfect.
Right.
There's no right way. There is
No.
what excites your heart, what
Yep.
connects you, right?
And once you explore that and accept parts of it, yeah, I mean, you're not going to learn all of that acceptance right away. At some point, you take the little bits, you
Little
learn
baby
from the little
steps, right?
bits.
Yeah,
Exactly. And it becomes better and better and better every time, you know.
indeed. Small victories, you always talk about it. I feel the
Yeah.
same way. We get these little small victories.
Yep, exactly. Warriors
Yeah.
achieving victories every day.
I love that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank
Anything else you want to
you.
add?
No, we'll just keep going.
All right, we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Thank you all.